everything in Ruchnius and in Yiddishkeit, there's always, nothing is commemorative. There's an avodah that's always associated with every time of the year. And I think the 3 weeks is a time that people have difficulty with, because firstly, we have difficulty connecting with the Churban of the Beis HaMikdash and being sad over it. We never had a Beis HaMikdash. We don't know what it means to lose it. We don't relate to it. People have difficulty connecting to it. And it's like a difficult period in the year. People don't really know what to do with it. So I want to share a couple of yisoidis from the Kashutz Magid, which are very yisoidistic about the 3 weeks in general, and then branch out into the avoid of the 3 weeks. What's our avoid and how do we connect? The Kashutz Magid says, we know that there's a pasuk in Eicha, which has coined the Hebrew term that we refer to the 3 weeks as. The 3 weeks is referred to as Bein HaMetzarim, which means between the straits, between the tight spots, referring to Shabbos of Tammuz being the first one and the last one being Tisha B'Av. All the days in between are Bein HaMetzarim. It's from a pasuk in Eicha that says, Kol Reitvei Hesigu Bein HaMetzarim. All those that pursued Klal Yisrael caught up with her Bein HaMetzarim, between the tight spots. And the pasuk on the face value is just referring to the fact that all the Goyim who attacked us, they managed to corner us into a place where we couldn't escape. Chazal say, no, Bein HaMetzarim is referring to these 3 weeks. These 3 weeks are weeks that bad things happen to us. We get caught. So they're the lowest days of the year. The Kashutz Magid in Avodas Yisrael writes that these are days that everyone will find in their own lives that their taiva increases. They will find a bigger challenge with taiva, with guarding their eyes and their thoughts during these 3 weeks. Because it's a time of a greater tumah in the world, lower days where Kedusha is more hidden, the Sitra Achra, these are their days, these are the times that they were successful. So it's days of Sitra Achra, and as a result, there's more taiva in the world. That's worthwhile being aware of unto itself, because forewarned is forearmed. So when you know that these 3 weeks are going to come with this challenge, so you're ready for it. That's worthwhile unto itself. But the Kashutz Magid said that there's a deeper reason why there's more taivas during this time. He said the more precious the stone is, the more rock encrusts it. And he says that's a rule in Ruchnius. Wherever there's more tumah, that's a sign that underneath it, if you break through the rock, there's going to be more kedusha. So the fact that there's more tumah during these days is an indication that there's more kedusha. Why is there more kedusha? So he says a fascinating mashal from the Mizritcha Magid. A variation of this mashal was adapted by the Balatanya to Elul, which Lubavitch has made very famous. The Balatanya was the Talmud of the Magid, so this is probably the source of the mashal. Mizritcha Magid said that on this same pasuk, all those that pursued her, catch her, Bein HaMetzarim, who's the her? So the Mizritcha Magid said it's referring to the Shechina. All those who pursue the Shechina during these days can catch her. And he also, in another place, he says, Kol Reitfeha can be broken up to Kol Roidivka. Anyone who chases after Hashem can achieve it during this time. Why? So the Magid said it's a mashal. When a king is in his palace, it's very hard to access it. It takes a lot to get in. It takes a lot. You have to have a serious merit in order to be privileged to do it, and you have to come with a big gift. But when the king is exiled and he's fleeing and he's passing through villages, everyone can come and access him. And not only that, he says, the smallest gift that you give him at that time is immensely appreciated. So you bring him into your little hut and you give him porridge, and it means the world to him. because he's in exile. So during the year, to access Hashem when he's Kaviyachal in his palace takes a lot. It takes a lot of work, a lot of avodah to be zoichet to catch a glimpse of Hashem. During these 3 weeks, when the Shekhinah is in Golus, so it's accessible to everybody. Which means that Bein HaMetzorim is a double-edged sword, or a double-sided coin. On the one hand, the taivas are going to be greater, and the nisyonos are going to be greater. But on the other hand, whatever effort a person puts into ruchnius, he will see more fruit in those areas. If a person tries to connect to Hashem now, he could do it in a better way. Kosher Tzemagid says there is a difference between us in getting the easy access to Hashem now towards the tzaddikim who work hard to get it during the year. He said if you get to see the king in his palace, you get to see him as he is. When you see him when he's running in exile, he's all bundled up with coats. Says so too, the people who are eligible to see Hashem in his palace, they see him with more clarity. When we get him and when Hashem's in Golus, it's easier to connect to Hashem, but not with the same amount of clarity. But the bottom line is, for us, what's important is that it's going to be easier to connect to Hashem. More clarity, less clarity, the Maisa, the access is there. So it's a time of tremendous opportunity for focus to Hashem. And I think that a person will see both of those. It's not a hypothetical thing. He'll see the increase in taivas, and he will see that his davening is going to be better also, if he puts effort into his davening. He'll see it. So I think that there's another Kedusha that's available during these days, which is why the rock is so thick, which is really the avoid of these days. And that is the ability to connect emotionally to the Beis HaMikdash. Chazal tell us that a dead person is forgotten after 12 months. That's the nature of human beings. But if somebody's alive, they don't get forgotten, and you never lose the pain of losing them. Which is why Yaakov didn't stop mourning for Yosef for 22 years. He wasn't dead, he wasn't forgotten. He wasn't forgotten, then the pain of missing them never subsides. The reason why Klal Yisrael still mourns for the Beis HaMikdash thousands of years later is because the Beis HaMikdash is not dead. The Beis HaMikdash is in hiding. The Beis HaMikdash is in sleeping mode. The physical building was taken from us, but the Kedusha that the Beis HaMikdash represents is still very much in existence and will be returned. The connection to Hashem that was accessible, the Gilui Shechina that was accessible in the Beis HaMikdash, still exists, it's just hidden now. Because that connection didn't die, that's why Klal Yisrael doesn't stop mourning it. Deep down in every Yid's neshama, there's a part of him that is still mourning for the Beis HaMikdash that misses it. The problem is that it's buried somewhere very, very deep down. We don't have access to it. These 3 weeks are Mesugel, just like every Yontif is Mesugel, is particularly auspicious to achieve a certain spiritual gift that's available. The gift that's available during this time, it's easier than a whole year, is to be able to reconnect with that yearning for the Beis HaMikdash. What's the mile of reconnecting? The more you're connected to missing the Beis HaMikdash, the more you're connected to the Beis HaMikdash. And what that does is that even now, every person according to his level has the ability to tap into some of the Kedusha of the Beis HaMikdash and bring it into his own life and his neshama. The people who yearn for the Beis HaMikdash all the time, who really live with it, they're connected to the Beis HaMikdash even now. Because the missing is a connection. So it's not about something in the past. It's about reawakening, rediscovering the part of us that's still yearning for that connection that we had to Hashem that we don't have anymore because it didn't die. A whole year it's very hard to relate to. In the 3 weeks, it's mesugel for a person to do it. And that, like all the things that we achieve on Yom Tovim, you're supposed to tap into it and it will last a whole year. This is where the person's koiner or reacquires his connection to the Beis Hamikdash, to Geula, to the matzav of Mashiach, the matzav of what it meant when we were close to Hashem, and that stays to a lesser degree for the whole year. It's where you're koiner for the year, where you're able to tap into it. That is a huge kedusha that's available, and that's why the cleanness is so great. That's why the tumah that's covering it up is going to be so great. A lot of people go through Tisha B'Av and miss it. And the Jewish world, in an attempt to compensate for the meaninglessness that the 3 weeks are, and Tisha B'Av is to so many Jews, so they have all sorts of Tisha B'Av programs and videos. They're good. They beat the alternative. Most of them are still missing the point, because they're usually getting you into some issue that Klal Yisrael needs to work on. That's fine. They'll talk about various sad things that are happening in the world. It's fine. But that's not the point. The point is to reawaken the yearning for the Beis Hamikdash. Now, the way to start to yearn for the Beis Hamikdash, the first step is for a person to take a look at all the tragedies that Klal Yisrael experiences in Galus. Because that's the most tangible and accessible way to start to awaken the yearning for the Geula, which is, Galus is a mess. And all the suffering that we see around us, and all the suffering that we personally are experiencing in our own lives, and all the people who are dying of cancer, and all the people whose parents have already died of cancer and they're orphans, and all that suffering that you see all over the world is only because we're in Galus. When Mashiach comes, it's going to be gone. And when a person, that's something that we can relate to on a very, very visceral level, and that begins the process of yearning for the Geula. But the real yearning for the Geula is beyond any of the physical problems we're suffering. It's about the connection that we once had, the deep, open connection we once had with Hashem. We don't experience, at least it's not manifest anymore. And to begin to yearn for that is to connect to it, to have that connection for a whole year. A boy called me up last year, a teenage boy, and we were talking, and it was during this time, and he said to me, I'm not taking a haircut, I'm not listening to music, but it's not going past that. So what's this whole charade about? I'm just basically painting myself for nothing. I mean, I don't really care about the Churban of the Beis Hamikdash. So I told him, there's three, well, Chazal instituted this.
That's a very smart question.
That's a very smart question. Like, I'm supposed to be, the point is to demonstrate mourning, but I'm not mourning. So what am I doing? So I think the answer is that there's three benefits to it, and they represent different levels. Benefit number one is, on the most simple level, is that when you do these things that Chazal instituted to demonstrate the Avelis in the morning of the Beis Hamikdash, even if you don't feel it, you are showing covet and respect to the Beis Hamikdash. You're showing that you intellectually acknowledge the fact that we as a people need to mourn over this. You don't feel it, doesn't matter. You know the rules of Avelis apply even if you had a terrible relationship with your father. And you're not sad that he's dead. There are people who are estranged from their father. I was once in a minyan with a guy who was saying Kaddish the whole year. His parents got divorced when he was a child. He almost had no connection to his father his whole life, and then his father was nifter. And he had to say Kaddish and all this stuff, but he told me it's meaningless to him. Didn't even know the man. But the answer is, so why do Chazal require it? Because it's respect. It's respect to acknowledge the fact that your father passed away. That's step number one. So if nothing else, even if it doesn't awaken anything in a person, you accomplish the fact that you honored the Beis Hamikdash. That itself will create a connection to the Beis Hamikdash that will last you a whole year. Some small level. The next reason is that all these things were meant to put you in a state of mind psychologically to be better fit to be able to tap into the real feelings if you try. Because when a person, Chazal say, a lion doesn't roar when all it has to eat is straw. It only roars when it has meat in front of it. And Chazal apply that to a person also. A person feels confident and his ego expands when he's well fed. When he's pinched a little, then he becomes humble. It's hard for a person to relate to the Abelos of the Beis Hamikdash when he's comfortable and well fed and pampered and enjoying himself. And then tell him we lost the Beis Hamikdash. It's very hard for him to squeeze out a krecht. But when he's physically in a certain discomfort, when he's fasting, or when he's not shaving, or when he's not during the 9 days, he's not able to take comfortable showers, and there's a certain discomfort that puts him in a place where psychologically, if he takes the next step, he'll be able to relate more to the Beis Hamikdash. And finally, on the deepest level, just like everything the Chazal instituted, they're not commemorative, but they're physical powers. When Chazal instituted doing these things as a zecher to the Beis Hamikdash, that means that they connected to the Beis Hamikdash. They actually connected to the Beis Hamikdash. All these things are the tools that Hashem, Chazal gave us in order to reconnect to that deep yearning for the Beis Hamikdash that's buried somewhere in the Yiddish and Hashem. And when a person does that, he reinstates his connection with the Geula, connection with that kesher that we have to Hashem. That lasts a whole year. You should know that the Avelis on the Beis Hamikdash, if a person taps into it, is not depressing. It's not depressing. It's rejuvenating. It's like, you know how after October 7th, people wanted to watch the videos in order to cry, to be part of it, to relate to it, to somehow connect to it? It's when you could get yourself to a point that you yearn for the Beis Hamikdash, you walk away feeling connected to the Beis Hamikdash and to Hashem, not disconnected. It's a tremendous elevation. You can walk away from Tisha B'Av very inspired. Inspired because you walk away feeling like you just reconnected yourself to something very deep. That's the avoid of the 3 weeks. It's mesugel. It's auspicious for that. It's kol reitveh yisigur beinu. Anyone who pursues Hashem during this time can easily achieve it. And that's the avodah for the year. Okay, Ashikayach.